What's up guys, NepentheZ here and welcome back to another video about the icons. First things first, thank you for being here. Drop a thumbs up on the video if you're enjoying the content and let me know in the comment section below your favourite 3 icons that are in the game in FIFA 19. Doesn't have to be necessarily the new ones. It can be some of the old ones. We looked at 10 new icons beforehand. We mostly got involved in the first 10 icons that were released. EA continued to release icons over the course of yesterday evening, and of course we've got the 5 brand new icons as well or 7 actually icons that they've given some stories for. So we're going to take a deep look into these today. I'm going to try and keep it as short as possible, but sometimes I just and talk about random crap for ages, so apologies if this turns out to be another super long video, but once again thank you guys for being here. So lots of icons. Somebody told me that there's going to be 72 icons. Is it 72? So 72 or 74 icons, something like that anyway, in FIFA 19, which means on release day, if they don't release any prime icons, there is going to be around 150 icons in the game. Obviously with 70 odd icons, they can't release 1 a week. They barely even release 2 a week. They're going to have to do like, I hope they start with 20 prime icons just straight in the game, 20 of the terrible ones. But anyway, looking at some of the new icons that are coming, Johan Cruyff on the left hand side of the screen there. Fantastic looking card, specifically that 94 centre forward, 91 pace, 91 passing, 92 shooting, 94 dribbling and 73 physical. But make no mistake about it, that 91 also looks amazing. Insane pace and dribbling, insane shooting and passing and good physical. I'll be honest, the 89, although it does look good, it's not too dissimilar from the 91. You know, it's got good pace, good dribbling, good shooting, alright passing, good physical. It is the sort of card that I think will be eclipsed quite quickly by just regular cards that get a few upgrades. You know, like a James Rodriguez getting an inform will have something similar. You know, maybe not for pace or potentially not for physical, but definitely the dribbling, shooting and passing aspect. You know, those sort of stats, they get boosted so heavily in first and second informs. It won't take long before that one's a little bit like out of the curve, outside of the curve. But generally speaking, Cruyff has an absolutely insane card. Rivaldo on the right hand side of your screen right now, guys. A centre forward card, 90 rated, an 87 cam, and then the 92 left wing. All of these cards just look good. Most specifically, the 92 left wing looks insane. Amazing dribbling and shooting, phenomenal passing, good pace, and great physicals. You put the correct chem style on him, you can do whatever you want with him. You wanna start him as a left wing and convert him into a striker with the dynamic tactics, no problem. Whack a engine card on him and you've got yourself an incredible cam. You whack a hawk card on him and you can have yourself a good second striker or striker in a two-man setup. Whack a hunter on him and you've got a perfect single striker. That card's very good. Even the 87 cam, very good. You know, really well-rounded across the board. What I love about cards like Rivaldo's 87 cam, and not just icons either, but general cards as well, is when a player has really well-rounded in every category and strong physicals, for me they're standout players. You know, he's got good pace, good dribbling, good shooting at 87, good passing at 85. Even though I said about Cruyff's 85 passing it was okay, that's in relation to his 91 passing on his 94 card, not in relation to passing in general. But Rivaldo there with 85 passing and 76 physical, fantastic. The 90 centre forward as well, very good. A little increase in dribbling, shooting and passing, a little decrease in pace, but not by much. But the story for Rivaldo looks amazing. Looks amazing. We move down, guys. We get Gerrard and Eusebio. We start with Gerrard. I would be very interested to see the in-game stats of Gerrard because I feel like the 91 Gerrard is potentially a little harsh on defending. I'd be interested to see what that is. I remember Gerrard as just a winner, just a warrior, a great box-to-box midfielder with insane attacking attributes, and that is captured very well with his shooting, his passing, his heavy dribbling, his good physicals, but a little low on defending. But obviously his first or his 86 card capitalizes well on that, and that Gerrard card as well, the 86 is going to be another one of those cards like Ballack, like Hullet, like Vieira, that we're just going to see constantly, because it looks like it will be a remarkable card for a long time. You know, nice for a box-to-box midfielder or for a flat-out CDM. He just covers all bases. He's very good. The 89 centre mid as well, very good card. You know, I think the Gerrard trio, I think they're all just good cards. And it'll be really interesting to see what the in-game stats are, what the skill moves and weak foot are, and how they play in-game. Moving on to Eusebio. Just great stuff again. What I love about the 3 cards again is that they're heavy in physicals. You know, even the 91 centre forward there, 93 pace, 93 shot, 90 dribbling, 88 passing, and 74 physical. The 89 Eusebio, a little faster, a little less shooting, far less passing, but better physical. And then the prime Eusebio, obviously, you know, 94 pace, 94 shot, 93 drib, good pass, good physical. It's going to be a great card to play with. Another one of the icons just lambasted onto a list of already overburdened, incredible icons. What will be interesting to see as we scroll down towards Roberto Baggio and Raul, what will be really interesting to see is how the pros and the content creators that dump a crap ton of money in, how they kind of trend towards certain players and why. Like I said, with the likes of Gerrard and Lampard and Hullet and Michael Ballack and Patrick Vieira and Emmanuel Petit, it's going to be interesting to see what players they specifically lend to, and whether it's a case of some pros prefer Ballack over Hullet, or everyone still goes for Hullet and Vieira. It's going to be really interesting with so many icons to see how it develops the differences in teams, and indeed if it develops differences in teams, or if every other icon outside of what we've already seen as the meta is still irrelevant. Looking at Roberto Baggio though, guys, again, just fantastic stuff. Sadly for someone like Baggio in FIFA, the lack of physical is probably going to render him a little bit useless. Not to say that he won't be fun to play with, he won't be overpowered specifically in the early stages of the game, but I know from first-hand experience and from using players that are really small, you know, your Insignes, your Mertens. Yeah, you know, we've spent time with those kind of players, and until they get their 3rd and 4th and 5th in forms that gives them huge physical upgrades, they're always used less than other players that have good physicals in the winger role. And Baggio, although he has great pace, great dribbling, good shooting across his 3 cards, and very, very good passing, he will make a fantastic cam, depending on how physical is interpreted in this game. Looking at Raul as well, love these Raul cards. You know, the 86 centre forward, not the hugest fan of. You know, that does look like a James Rodriguez kind of card, does that right there. You know, the good dribbling, shooting and pace. Passing, good pace, good physicals, is well rounded. But the 92 centre forward specifically, I think that's a magnificent card. Fantastic pace, fantastic shooting and dribbling, good passing, heavy in physicals for a striker or for a centre forward. I think is going to be good. And again, with the 88 card as well, with the 86 pace shooting, the good dribbling, it's going to be one to rival, you know, the Crespos and the Shevchenkos that we saw in early days of FIFA 17. It's going to be interesting to see what people go for and who they try and add into their teams. As we go down to Frank Lampard and Claude Makelele, another one that is on the board for another defensive / box-to-box midfielder. You know, we've got another one to list in there. So who are people going to go for? There's so many options. Mateus, Desai, like the list is endless. And looking at Frank Lampard's card, it's a good card. That 90 rated card specifically for me, because once again, it's just incredibly well-rounded. Good dribbling, great shooting or passing. With a shadow chem style, you're going to boost his pace, you're going to boost his defending. He's going to be an incredible box-to-box midfielder early days. Even that 86 rated card, it's a little low on physical compared to you know, the 90. The same as the 88, a little low on physical. But both of them offer good return. The 88, I don't think people will use just because of that lack of pace. But the 86, I think, will be a good usable card with a shadow. And then the 90, I think, will be a really, really top quality box-to-box midfielder. And then Makelele, guys, like the right mid, of course, doesn't look usable at all. Not great shooting, not great dribbling, not great pace. I think that'll be one of those cards that just never really gets touched, like a couple of the JJ Okocha cards. However, I don't know about the CDM card either. Like, is heavy good in defending physical. He's got good pace. He's got all right dribbling. It'll be interesting to see what the in-game stats are for his passing, because if it's good short pass and good long pass, but really low like free kicks and such, then yeah, that'll still be a great card. But I love that 90 rated card, you know, just insane. A perfect defending and physical. Great pace, not perfect, but you know what I mean, like really high end, good dribbling, good passing. And then last but not least, Cannavaro. Now, we've had Cannavaro in FIFA before. One of the reasons why he wasn't necessarily used as much as others is because he's short, and that's a problem. But he's fast, and that's a massive benefit. The 87 Cannavaro, probably the best card out of the lot, just because of how overpowered chem styles are in terms of boosting those defensive stats up. 82 pace, 90 defending, 81 physical, phenomenal. The 92 with great pace, great defending, great physicals. The 89 with good pace, great defending, good physicals. I mean, this, like, it will depend how height plays and how someone like Cannavaro is able to fit into the meta, but a very good card nonetheless. We then, guys, look at the next icons. Juan Sebastian Veron. This 90 rated card does look very good. I was talking about this card on stream with a few people. A few of my viewers seem to think that he deserves a little more in defending. I personally think he deserves a little more in dribbling. Again, it will be interesting to see what the in-game stats are, but I thought I remember him being a bit more creative and expressive than 85 dribbling. So we'll have to wait and see what that actually looks like. But, you know, this again could really be used as another good box-to-box midfielder. You whack a shadow on that 90 centre mid, incredibly well-rounded, great defending stats, great, you know, very good passing and shooting, good physicals, and then with a shadow card, great defending stats. Just a really nice, well-rounded box-to-box midfielder. Even the 88 and the 86 with the correct chem styles can be very heavily utilised into your favour to be a good box-to-box midfielder. I'm very excited to have Veron back in the game. He should be a lot of fun to play with. We then have Nakata, one of the worst icons, Marco Reus's base gold card that is only the 90th ranked card in the whole game at this stage is better than all three of these cards. I was talking about this, and I think EA should really change how they have icons, because this card is undesirable, unattainable because icons are hard to pack, and not usable, right? So what you're going to have is you're going to have a situation where there are already players in the game better than the prime Nakata card, making him behind the curve before the game is even already out. Now, the fact that all these cards will discard at 100,000 coins minimum, and the fact that we might not see the prime Nakata until a month or 2 months or 3 months in, it made me just kind of think we need a whole rework of the icon system and how they're released to us. What I would love to see is a secondary icon set. So you've got your big icons, your prime icons, your icons that you want to be released in over the course of 3 to 6 months because they'll fill the curve of the game. But then you've got icons like this that it's absolutely fine to have all three of these out on day one, that should have, maybe bring back the blue card from last year and have two different kind of like tiers of icons. So you've got your high-end icons and your low-end icons. And so that we don't have a prime icon SBC for him. We just have them in packs. They have a lower discard value, so maybe 40k instead of 100k, which will dramatically reduce the price. It'll make him used more. It will make him more desirable, and it'll fit into a lot more people's teams, because paying a minimum of 100,000 coins for this card, and because of SBCs and prime icon SBCs probably paying anywhere from 300 to 500,000 coins for this card, is worthless. Like the only use you're going to have with this card is going to be, maybe the prime has a little more use, but in terms of the other two, it's just going to be cannon fodder for SBCs. It's going to be the icon that everyone uses to get the better icons. And that, for me, is just kind of a waste. I would like to see a little more done and it being a little better. Sol Campbell coming in, guys. Huge cards here. Even his dribbling, the reason why his dribbling is so low, he's actually got good reactions based on his card from a few years ago, and that was a lower rated card, an 86 card. So for his prime icon, and that had 45 dribbling, so he's up to the mid-50s for dribbling now, or 48 dribbling. He's had a dribbling increase. It's his agility and balance that's super low, which can be useful for defenders when turning around and running, but generally isn't super important. But I mean, this card is just amazing. And either of these three cards is absolutely fantastic. You know, you got the 85 Sol Campbell, the fastest one with a shadow card, goes up to high-end defending, stupidly high-end pace. I think that prime icon Campbell, you know, an anchor card or a shadow card would be amazing. The same with the 87, an anchor card or a shadow card would be amazing. I think this card we could see in a lot of people's early game teams because he doesn't quite have the dribbling stats of the Maldinis or the Rio Ferdinands or whatever centre back we're going to be looking at, he might be a lot cheaper and a lot more common in packs, which means early days he's going to be used a lot more. So I think in your first sort of 2 to 4 weeks of FUT Champs and FUT Rivals, I think we're going to see a lot of Sol Campbell. Next up, guys, we have David Trezeguet. Now, this is another interesting one for me because I grew up watching David Trezeguet, and I had a long debate with people on my stream when we talked about this. Not even a debate, just an agreement, really. I think they've done David Trezeguet very dirty, specifically in pace, but also in dribbling. You know, he was fast, he was rapid. I personally think 87, maybe 88 pace would be a fair representation of his true abilities, and definitely a small upgrade in dribbling. And, you know, he was never a flair player. He didn't have the fancy tricks and skills. He wasn't necessarily a mazy runner of a player, but when he got going, when he was on the ball, I don't know, I just remember him being a little bit more fluid than like a 77 dribbling and an 80 dribbling. Like, I don't think they've necessarily done him good. The rest of him, fine. You know, great shooting for his 2 big cards. For his baby card, he's got good pace, good shooting. All right dribbling and physical. Not really a card you'll probably touch too much. You know, I can see this card being used a lot as SBC fodder as well. But these 2 cards here, great dribbling. Good enough dribbling. Great shooting. Good physicals. A little low on pace for what I remember him as. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm right. More coming up next, guys. Another centre-back that we're probably not going to see a lot of. And the reason for that is because of pace. You know, we know, doesn't matter what EA try to do, doesn't matter how they nerf pace in-game, doesn't matter whether they start players off with low global pace. The problem with cards like this is there are already better cards out there. And for this game, Manolas is a prime example of that. 83 pace, 80 somewhat defending, 80 somewhat physical. Because of how overpowered chemistry styles are, and we talked about this to death in the stream as well, chemistry styles are a big issue in this game because they give 15 slide tackle, 15 stand tackle, 10 interceptions, and I think 15 marking. And it takes players that have 84, 85, 86 defending and puts their defensive stats high end. So if they already have a very similar physical, dribbling and pace stats to these icon cards like Bobby Moore, they're already more desirable. Van Dijk is more desirable than Bobby Moore. Manolas is more desirable than Bobby Moore. And they're the worst 2 centre-backs in the top 100 that we've seen so far. So a card like this, specifically the 89 and 92, like, you're just not going to see people use it. And it's funny because I used him in World Cup game mode, and I actually thought he was very, very good. You know, I didn't really feel like his pace was too much of an issue. But the quality of player on the World Cup game mode was so bad, just generally so bad because of how many more people were playing it, that maybe it was just because I hadn't been put through the rigmarole of 40 games trying to get elite in FUT Champs that I didn't really get exposed for using Moore and Puyol together. Disappointing, really, because it's hard for EA to capture, in an arcadey game mode, it's hard for EA to capture technically, mentally technical players that were so good. And one of the things that was so good about Bobby Moore was he was just a brute in terms of reading the game and tackling people and just being generally an incredible defender. He didn't have to rely on his pace so much. But in FIFA, you kind of have to rely on pace a lot more heavily than you can rely on smarts because of the way the game works, which is a little bit sad. It's just the way it is. Next player we've got is Gary Lineker. Now, again, going back to the World Cup mode, this 92 Gary Lineker was a big surprise for me. I packed him on my road to glory, and so we used him, and I loved him. I thought this 92 card in the World Cup was absolutely incredible. I would be interested to see how well it would fare in regular Ultimate Team, in FUT Champions, in FUT Rivals. But the 89 and 92 Lineker cards both look great. Good physicals, good dribblings, great pace and shooting. The 87 Gary Lineker doesn't necessarily look like something I'll be overly interested in. You know, not the greatest pace, a little heavy on dribbling, good shooting, but just kind of falls a little bit short in terms of already the curve of players that we have there. That's what we've got with Lineker. Next up, we've got Fernando Hierro. The 86 Hierro I could see being used a fair bit, especially early days. Really good dribbling and passing, which will be good for his reactions and ball control. already high base defending and good pace with a shadow card. You know, again, 99 defending, you know, high 80s for pace or mid 80s for pace at worst. Sadly, the better the card gets, the worse it seems like we're gonna be able to use him for. 73 pace isn't the worst, but it's not the best. You know, once you get 1 or 2 informs on a couple of the top end centre backs or a couple of not even icon SBCs, just a couple of SBCs, you know, a league SBC or a special SBC that comes out. Cards like this Fernando Hierro are just not going to be great. Interestingly enough, I think he would make a really good CDM with those defending, physical, pace stats, decent enough passing. He'd probably make a good player in the CDM role. The same as the 89 as well. You know, a little bit slower, but good defending, good physicals. But I just much like more like mid 70s and higher for pace. I think they have potential to be usable and incredible in game. Once you start ticking below that mid 70 level, even at 73s and 71s, you start hitting that threshold of this guy's just going to get burnt by every winger and every high-end striker with a shadow, with a Hunter Chem style on them. And so, you know, we saw last year that having high pace and good defending was far more important than having good pace and high defending. And if it's the same this year, we won't see much of Hierro. Next up, we've got Baresi, and he's in exactly the same boat as Moore and Hierro and Puyol and all the others that we've seen. You know, great defending, good physicals, good dribbling, good passing, kind of like a staple of the older generation of centre-backs, but they're not quite fast enough, you know? I can't imagine. I think the 88 Baresi will be usable early game, the first month, maybe 6 weeks of FUT. Because the only trouble you're really going to have is when you come up against that guy that spent a crap ton of money and has the good icons or the Ronaldos and Messis and stuff, and they're going to be few and far between in the first sort of 4 to 6 weeks, really. Once you start getting past that mold of time and people have so many more coins and so much more behind them, all of a sudden, loads more people are going to have loads more high-end players, and someone like Baresi is not going to quite cut it. But day one, this 88 Baresi with a Shadow Chem style will be fast enough to deal with most attackers and good enough to deal with most attackers as well. But he will very quickly fall behind the curve, in my personal opinion. Next up, guys, we've got Miroslav Klose. So the 87 Miroslav Klose is not going to be usable. You know, he'll be heavy, he'll be slow, not the greatest physicals or passing, and not even the greatest shooting. However, the 91 Miroslav Klose will be very good to use with a Hunter Chem style. Great pace, great shooting, good physicals, and alright dribbling. I think he'll have a little bit low on agility and balance, but I think his ball control and reactions here will be super nice to the point where he'll actually be able to score some sick goals for you. And this 89 Klose, I think he could be usable, but he could be a dud. You know, he's got good shooting and good pace with well-rounded physicals and dribbling, but is that just too low on the pace side? And again, that really depends. You know, early game, you'll probably get away with being able to use this because, as we've seen even with the icon cards, they're on the 70s for pace. You know, mid-70s as a good card, 70s and high 60s as some of the cards. And it's unlikely you'll be coming up against the Ramos and the Boatengs and maybe not Manolas, he's only 85 rated, so potentially you'll come up against him a lot. But you won't be coming up against super pacey centre-backs week one. So someone like that 89 Klose in the early stages of FUT could be very useful for a good 3 to 5 weeks. After that, though, as soon as, you know, people start getting the funds together to get the high-paced centre-backs, we find out what the meta is and the market kind of shifts how it's going. He's going to be useless, but the 91 could be useful for a fair amount of time. We then have Van Nistelrooy. Once again, the 86 Van Nistelrooy, much like that Klose card, not going to be usable at all. The 90 Van Nistelrooy will be usable early game, but will fade out quite quickly. And then the 92 Van Nistelrooy, I actually really like the look of this card. You know, good, really well-rounded dribbling and physical, great shooting and good pace. Be interesting to see what the in-games are for pace, but with how big the Hunter Chem style is for pace, you're going to be able to get him up to like 96, 97 rated pace, and he'll be rapid, which is nice. But again, it just kind of like shows the boosts that the Chem styles give. Probably a little bit too big. We talked about this a lot as well on stream, and I wouldn't mind making a video discussing it as well. But I think Chem styles they're just too heavy, man. They're just too impactful, in my opinion. Then we get Pavel Nedved, guys. Now, this is a card that I really hope goes under the radar, because I think this will be a beast card. His 86 card is not going to be very usable for very long. Again, I think early game, week 1, week 2, it'll be usable because he's got good pace, good good dribbling, and then quite well-rounded shooting, passing, and physical. But it's a sort of stats and a sort of card that we saw genuinely like 300 times in FIFA 18. High pace, high dribbling, high shooting, high passing wasn't hard to come by. And in fact, someone like Marco Reus already fits the bill for that. A little less on pace, but generally speaking. The 89 Pavel Nedved, very good indeed, would work very well inside as well, but just quite an incredibly well-rounded player. I love cards that have mid or higher level in many stats and then just really good in the other stat. Now obviously for a winger, defending is kind of irrelevant, but having 88 pace, 88 dribbling, 88 passing, 86 shooting, and then 80 physical is really good for me. And then that 91 Nedved, I would love to see him in like the cam role. I know he's got 3-star skill moves, 5-star weak foot, or 4 or 5, something like that. Anyway, can't remember off the top of my head. But insane dribbling, insane passing, insane shooting, and then good pace and good physicals. Super excited to try that card, and I really hope that that's one of those cards that just kind of falls below the market value of cards of that caliber, because he's a winger with 85 pace and people just won't think to use him or to pop him into their team. But I really like the look of that Nedved card for me personally. We then have Roy Keane, another option to throw in that midfield alongside all of the other great box-to-box and CDMs that we're going to have. It's going to be incredible to see who the pros go for and which midfielders are the most overpowered. The 86 Keane you're probably not going to use, just too slow. The 90 and the 88 Keane, both are going to be incredibly usable. Just great cards, all well-rounded, good physicals, good defending, obviously decent enough pace. The 88 Keane obviously benefits in pace, but a little less on dribbling. So it might feel a little heavier, especially when with the ball rather than when without. Both have got decent enough passing. It's going to be interesting to see how well that card performs in game. I remember him from a few years ago in FIFA, and he was a really good card to use. So I wonder if we'll have the same impact again going forwards. We then have Butragueno back in the game. All of these are quite usable. The 87 is, again, good early game because high pace, high dribbling, high shooting, but really low physical, so will fall behind the curve quite quickly. The 92 striker looks fantastic. Great pace, great dribbling, great shooting. And again, although he's relatively low on physicals, as long as that's not stamina that's super low, this will be a great card to use. And then the 90 as well, very, very good. A little bit higher on physicals, a little bit lower across the board on pace, shooting and dribbling. But probably in terms of being a more complete card, I think the 90 rated card is probably the most well-rounded card. You know, he's only 1 dribbling lower, he's only 2 shooting lower, 2 pace lower, and then 2 physical higher and 1 passing higher. I think he's just a more complete striker. Be interesting to see how they play in game. And then we get to the 5 that we've already looked at. So that, guys, is going to be the end of the video for this evening. If you did enjoy it, be sure to leave a like, rating, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. But for now, guys, I'm out. Peace.